Hi everyone, today we'll cover two basic finance topics, one being annuities and the other one being perpetuities, and we'll see how we can model this out in Excel. So let's begin with our annuities, which are essentially annual or periodical payments with a fixed number of periods. So to do this, we'll begin with designating some variables. So a periodic payment we'll call C. We'll say that number of periods we'll call N, and then discount rate we'll call R, and then we can find our present value of annuity. And we can pick any number of payment values. So 500, let's say, every period. Let's say for 5 years, just to keep it consistent with my other video on the PV and NPV functions. And let's say the discount rate is 10%. So we can find the present value by using formula. And we'll just say italicize this to make it clear. And then PV formula. So the formula method will simply take our payment and multiply it by 1 minus 1 divided by 1 plus our interest rate to the power of the number of periods, and then we'll divide this by our discount rate again. So this will be our result, and then using the present value we'll have our rate, number of payments, negative payment, just so we can get a positive present value, and you can see that the results are the same. Next we'll use our NPV, so we'll say that this is the period, this is the annuity payment, and we could say periods 1 to 5. So our payment here will be 500, and we'll just click F4 just so we can drag it down because it won't change since there's no growth rate in this one. And we can use the net present value or NPV to find this. Using the NPV formula, here's our rate and our values. And we again get the same result as we did above. Italicize this. So these here will be our results using the three different methods. So next we can look at an infinite annuity, which is also called a perpetuity. And the difference between this and the annuity is that the number of periods is infinite or undefined. So to do this, we just need our periodical payments and number and discount rate. So we can say this, and we can just use the same values. So our present value here is easily calculated just using the formula, which will be our annual payment divided by the discount rate. So this will be our present value of all future payments. So these are essentially our finite annuities and infinite annuities with no growth rate, just an interest rate. Next we can look at a perpetuity and an annuity with a growth rate. So essentially here the payments will not be consistent on an annual basis. They will change as the payment grows every year. So same thing here, we'll have our periodic payment, our number of periods, discount rate, and the present value. The only thing that we need to add is the growth rate, which is the rate at which the payments are growing. So either interest rate you're making or any investments you got. So let's say this is 500 again. Let's say the growth rate is 3%. The number of periods we use were 5 and the discount rate is 10. So let's say 5 and then 10%. Okay, so we'll do the same thing, But here we'll just use a formula in NPV. Since the annuities will change, the present value formula will give us some problems, so we won't use it. So the formula here is our payment, once again, multiplied by 1 minus, and then here we'll double bracket, 1 plus our growth rate, divided by 1 plus our discount rate or the interest rate. Close the double brackets, and then we'll say to the power of the number of periods, and then we'll close the bracket, divided by our interest rate or discount rate minus the growth rate. So this here will be our solution. And then we can look at the annuity payments. So this here will equal B2, since our first payment will simply be the 500. Moving on from there, we'll have the payment in the previous period, and we can fix this. We can actually fix this here right away to F4, since our payments will always grow. And then we could say that we'll have our annual payment multiplied by 1 plus our annual growth rate. And we can fix that as well because the growth rate will remain the same, to the power of. And then here we could just say the number of periods minus 1. And that will just remain the same, since we'll have to drag it down. And then we can drag this formula down. So these are our annuities. And then here we can use the net present value formula. So our rate here will be our discount rate, and then our cash flows, which we already brought back with the annuity, will simply go in there. And then we'll have the same result once again. So these are the finite annuities, and then here we can look at the infinite growing annuity or the perpetuities, similar to what we had here. We can copy this, bring it over here, and then above the discount rate we could just insert the growth rate that we had above. So this here will have payments for an indefinite number of periods or forever. So this simply will be the periodical payment divided by the discount rate less the growth rate. So this is our perpetuity with a growth rate, and this is our perpetuity without a growth rate. I could just enlarge it for you. So there you have it. If you have any questions or any comments of how I can improve this, or if you want any spreadsheets that I do in these videos for free, just send me a message or a comment, your email. Preferably send me a message, and then I'll just email it to you. Thank you, and have a good one.